My name's Lauren McLaren. I'm a yoga teacher here at Pilgrimage of the Heart Yoga, and I have been very fortunate to study and teach in the Kripalu lineage for about the last 10 years. I've been with Pilgrimage for about 5, and I've had an excellent opportunity to really grow my skills as a teacher in Pranayama, teaching 2 classes a week for about the last 4 years. Over the course of my training and my teaching, I've studied with various teachers specifically in Pranayama to really grow my understanding and knowledge of this practice, and it truly is a captivating one for me. Since I have started this training program, I've heard some really amazing stories from some graduates. A teacher who is currently teaching a private client who suffers from some pretty substantial pain, she reported to me just in the last couple of weeks that she was able to introduce to him a pranayama technique that has allowed him to really reduce his suffering and, maybe more importantly, detach a bit from his pain. This is amazing. In addition, I had a student identify to me that they had been in a car wreck, quite a substantial accident, and they immediately drew upon the tools that they had learned in their training, not just to manage the stress and anxiety of the moment, but then to help promote their own healing after the fact. And these stories continue to come to me again and again from various sources through the students who have been practicing with me in my regular weekly classes, in addition to the ones who have taken the longer training. And I am of the firm belief that this practice is for right now, for these times when we need them, when we have those moments of anxiety, when we have those moments of low energy and we need to shore ourselves up. We can always turn to that constant companion of our breath to do it. I think the simplest explanation for the word pranayama is it is the manipulation of our life force through breath techniques. It is really focused on developing a healthy system of respiration, and it's a practice that allows us to expand and enhance the way in which we bring the energy of breath into our body and the way in which we can let out that which is no longer serving us, all through the simple act of breathing in a specific way. I would say this training is for anyone who has some basic grounding in the practice of yoga. For teachers, it's a tremendous add-on to their existing skills as teachers. They can bring some of these techniques right into their asana classes, certainly into work that they're doing with private clients to enhance the whole yoga experience for those students. As for, people who are not teachers of yoga, there are so many benefits to learning these techniques for use just in your daily life, in creating a toolkit for dealing with the stresses of our modern world, the anxieties that we all feel, the pulls of life upon us. These are just very practical tools that can help us in many, many ways. I think the biggest benefit from the study and practice of pranayama is the very real access to the path of joy that is a wellspring in all of us. Often that well gets covered up through our daily life, and as we start to sit with our breath and calm the mind, we discover that that joy has always been inside, just maybe undercover. And I think that's probably the biggest benefit that everyone will receive. But more specifically, people will realize that there are absolute tools that they can use to change the way that they feel about things that are happening in their life in this moment. So it's a very practical application. We will look at breath patterns and breath techniques that will not only just make us more efficient breathers, getting the most out of each breath that we take, but also those techniques that can help to quiet and calm a busy mind, techniques that can help to settle down a very stressed out nervous system. And in addition, techniques that will open a gateway to meditation and ultimately serve the higher purpose of pranayama, which is really the elevation of our consciousness. So the benefits are manifold, and I probably have only highlighted a few of them. The reality is that, our breath is our most constant companion, and it is something that we can always rely upon to change how we feel about our circumstances. So during the course of the training, we'll start by discussing a little bit more in detail what pranayama is. Once we get through a basic understanding of this concept, then the next step is for us to really begin to learn about the mechanics of breathing and the anatomy of respiration. This will give all of the students a clear picture of how their lungs work, of what messages are being sent through their bloodstream with oxygen and carbon dioxide. So having that knowledge will build a foundation on which they can really grow their own practice and use of their breath. From there, we begin to explore some of the basic breathing techniques, starting with what I call the watching breath, which is our baseline breath that we come back to again and again to observe the effects of our practice. From there, we'll start to work with some more specific techniques that have definite end-line effects to them. We'll approach some of the more advanced techniques of pranayama as well. And then students will have the opportunity not just to practice these techniques, but to teach them to each other, so they're really grounding their knowledge and understanding in a practical application. Throughout this, students will be having the opportunity to create little practices for their own use that are geared towards exactly what they need. So they'll be able to bring these into a home practice environment and continue to enjoy the benefits of pranayama well beyond the four walls of our classroom. In addition to this, we will explore a little bit of the philosophy behind pranayama, a little bit of the mythology, the counterparts to each of the four stages of the breath. We'll draw on some of the philosophy from the Upanishads to really identify and enlighten the students as to how vital this practice is to our general well-being and to our yoga practice overall. So I'm here with Blair. We're going to take a look at a couple of different breath techniques that we'll be exploring in the training. The first one that we'll look at is what I call the watching breath. And this is a breath that is the foundation. It's where we start, and it's always where we come back to observe the effects of any specific breath patterns that we're working with. This is a breath that involves the focus on the diaphragm. So Blair, what I'm going to have you do first of all is just lift one of your hands and place it in the area of your diaphragm, just between the ribs. And then you can close your eyes. It's a little bit better to draw inside to start to pay attention to the inner landscape than to focus on the external sensory stimulation. So once you have started to just quiet your breath a little bit, we want to bring the breath to a real evenness. So as you inhale, you can begin inside your mind a little count, breathing in to a count of 4. And then right away releasing the breath and breathing out also to a count of 4. And as you take these breaths in and out, you hopefully are feeling a little bit of movement underneath your hand. And this would be your diaphragm, your big breathing muscle, moving up and down. It moves down as you exhale, as you inhale, and it moves up as you exhale. The diaphragm moves down as you inhale, and it moves up as you exhale. So once you feel good about that sensation, you can replace your hand on your thigh. And now we add a couple more qualities to this breath. Now that it's nice and even, we want to make it very connected. So this is an unbroken path of energy. The inhale rises and crests and then releases immediately to your exhale. The exhale simply makes way for the next inhale. So now that we have this even and connected breath, we want to make it silent. So the breath becomes completely imperceptible to everyone but the practitioner. Now, as we spend time with the diaphragmatic breath or the watching breath, some things will start to happen. We start to grow a little bit more calm in our minds and a little bit more focused in our concentration. And that focus and calm helps to create a place that we can watch. And from this place of watching, as we move into different techniques, we start to realize the effects of what it is that we're doing with our breath. Take one more cycle. And then let go all of those constraints and just come back to your own natural breath. Take a couple of cycles. And then open your eyes. How do you feel?
Really nice.
Good, good.
You can like feel your breath and your heartbeat, and it's neat.
It's really neat. And when we take the noise out of the breath, all that becomes apparent. So that's why that's an important characteristic of that watching breath. So the next technique that we'll look at with Blair is a really great, easy breath, and it involves a very specific ratio. So our inhalation is going to be one length, and our exhalation will be another length. Now, the way the body works is that when we exhale, we're relaxing this big muscle, the diaphragm. And that little relaxation in the diaphragm sends a message of well-being and relaxation to the whole rest of the body. So as we lengthen our exhalation, we're sending that message of relaxation, inducing that response in the body, so our nervous system gets a little chance to take a break. Very easy. This is great for anyone to do. There's no contraindications for this breath, so you can start doing it as soon as you finish watching this video if you like. So the first thing we'll do is just establish that same breath that we were just working with, that watching breath. So take a couple of moments, eyes closed, palms at rest. So Blair's working with an initial ratio of what we would call 4-4. So her inhale goes for 4 beats and her exhale goes for 4 beats. As she comes to take this next breath out, she's going to extend her exhale to 6 beats. And an easy way to do this is just to count in your mind. So as she inhales, she hears in her mind Om 1, Om 2, Om 3, Om 4, and as she exhales, Om 6, Om 5, Om 4, Om 3, Om 2, Om 1. And then immediately she begins again that 4 count inhale and that 6 count exhale. And I can even see in her shoulders that this is starting to take effect because they're starting to soften a little bit away from her ears. So we know that the relaxation response is being induced here with this simple breath ratio. That's great, Blair. Take one more breath like this. And then again at the end of that exhalation, slowly allow your natural breath to resume. And then when you're ready, open your eyes. Thanks, Blair. How are you feeling?
Good. When you mentioned my shoulders melting, I felt it.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Right on. So that's a really great, easy, practical application of pranayama that you can use in the moment to help to settle things down in your world. Thanks, Blair. I'm really delighted to be offering this training again here at Pilgrimage. I am over the moon with the thought of introducing some of these techniques to the students who will be attending. I can assure you that we will have a terrific time. There will be rich discussion, there will be lots of practice, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on your mat to take a couple of deep breaths with me.